All right, a little bit of a different video today. I know it's been a while since my last video, but with the holidays and just playing pickleball, I haven't had much time to do individual videos about a bunch of paddles that have come out recently. So I figured I would do just a tier list of all of the paddles that I have used throughout the year, and just rank them from what I think, from my perspective of what I thought about the paddle. Obviously, this is not a definitive list. This is just going to be my thoughts. I do have some discount links that I'll put in my channel description. I'm not going to put them for every single paddle. I do this for fun mostly. So if you do want to use one of those links, go ahead. I don't have links to every single company or every single paddle. So whatever. So let's just get started. So I'm just going to quickly go through these. I'm not going to spend too much time on each individual paddle, or else it's going to be like an hour long video. And I want to keep this at least under 30 minutes. So I'm just going to go through each one, give my initial kind of impressions, and throw them into a particular bucket, S being the best and D being the lowest tier. I might adjust throughout as I get through the paddles if I feel that one is better than the other, and swap them. So this is going to be a minimally edited video, so I apologize for any miscues or mishaps that happen. But yeah, so let's just dive right in. I have the first one here, which is the Thrive Fury. I'm going to bucket both the elongated and hybrid into this ranking, and I'm going to put that in A tier. I would put it in S tier originally, but I think nowadays I would put it in A tier with all the new paddles coming out. This is a really solid Gen 3 paddle, both the hybrid and the elongated. They both come in relatively light, especially the elongated. You can pick your swing weight, which is really cool. The reason why I think I wouldn't put it in S is that there are some durability issues with the Furies. I have had a few cases of core crushing happen with some people that have used it. But really, if you're looking for a Pro 4 with a little bit more pop in terms of that fiberglass layer, I think the Thrive Fury is probably one of the best choices. Still one of my favorite paddles. The grit is amazing. Haven't really found as durable of a grit really, barring like Infinigrit and those like special grits, but from just like a regular paddle grit, Thrive is definitely one of the best ones. I still have my hybrid in my bag that I got since launch, and it's still super gritty, so definitely a more durable grit than some other ones on here. So I'm going to keep it on A tier. Both the elongated and hybrid are fantastic choices. This is, I believe, the J2NF, I think. I'm going to bucket all like the FCs and ABCs and all the different Honolulu paddles that I have. I'm going to put this in B tier. I know a lot of people love this paddle when it first came out. I'm actually not a fan of Honolulu paddles in general. They feel a little bit too muted for me. They're usually a little bit underpowered from what I'm used to. That being said, it's a solid paddle for the masses. I think a lot of people could benefit from using a paddle like the J2NF or the J2FC Plus. I'm just not crazy about it. I felt like it was a little bit dead, not really responsive, so I'm going to put that in B tier. I know a lot of people push the Honolulu paddles a lot. I'm just not too crazy about them. The Flik F1. So this was from Body Helix. They actually just spun off into Flik Pickleball, so congratulations to them. I'm really looking forward to them in 2026 of what they got going. I'm going to put this in the A tier. In terms of usability, I probably would put this maybe in B tier, but from a just performance standpoint, and also when it released, it was probably, and still I think, one of the most powerful paddles on the market. People still use F1 as kind of like that top benchmark. I think Boomstik is getting close to that, but yeah, the F1 is probably the most powerful paddle I have ever hit. It is one of the most fun paddles. It has ridiculous spin. It's just way too unforgiving for me from like a tournament aspect. If I really want to dial in drops and resets and things like that, which is mostly my game, I just cannot do that with the F1. But drive serves were ridiculous on this thing. If they can bottle this up, make it maybe like a little bit less powerful, and just dial up the control, I think they will have an S tier paddle, and there could be something coming in 2026 for that. So love the F1. I just wish it was a little bit more controllable. Still would definitely play with it just for fun, but definitely not competitively. Next is the Chorus Phoenix. I'm going to put this in B tier. I did like the Phoenix. It is a little bit unforgiving in terms of that poppiness, and it's very stiff. So that's the only reason why I would probably put it in B tier. But from like an offensive capability, it's up there. It's just a little bit too unforgiving. That's why I would put it in B. But I know Chorus is coming out with their foam paddle soon, the Coda, so that's going to be interesting. But the Phoenix really showed, at least to me, that Chorus can build a powerful paddle. It just was a little bit too unforgiving for me, and I couldn't really dial it in. This is one that doesn't get too much attention, Standout Pickleball. So they have come out with the CF3, the CF4. They have a control version of the CF4 now. So this is going to be just the regular CF4. And I'm going to put this in A tier. I actually think this flies under the radar a lot. I think it's a really solid paddle. It comes in relatively light, so it's very maneuverable. You can definitely add weight to it if you want. Has a good sweet spot. This is a really solid Gen 3 paddle. It has good grit. It has good control. So yeah, it's really solid. It's a little bit on the expensive side in my opinion, but haven't had any issues from a quality control perspective. One of my good buddies uses this particular paddle, and I think he uses it for months and months and months before he had to get a new one. Which really for any paddle, you probably get a new one if you use it for months and months, just because the grit will wear out. But yeah, I really like this paddle. I think it doesn't get much attention because it's not a big name, but I think people who would try this paddle actually probably would really like it. The Quanta is next, the Ronbus Quanta. The Quanta, this is tricky. You know what? I'm going to put this in B tier. And I do like the Quanta from a performance and price standpoint. It's really cheap for great performance. You do have to weight this up significantly, which is an issue in my mind because it did take a little bit to dial in the weight configuration that I liked. So the Quanta was good. It was a little bit too poppy for me. I wasn't crazy about the shapes. I think that was like the number one thing which I didn't like was the shape options. I know Ronbus has a lot of different shape options. I just couldn't dial it in with one particular shape. I tried the R4, the R1, and I don't know. It just didn't really jive with me. So weighted up, it was pretty solid performing paddle. I just think that I would take like the Vatic V-Soles, for instance, above that, which are at the same price point. So yeah, I think just shape. It really just comes down to shape and then having to weight it up significantly. So we have the 11624 paddles coming up next, which is the Power and the Alpha Pro Power. And I am going to put the Power at B and the Alpha Pro Power at A. So the main difference between the Power and the Alpha Pro Power, in my opinion, I do like the Alpha Pro Power in terms of having that a little bit more softer feeling, that little more additional dwell time. And I feel like it was lighter. So the Power, the original Powers that came out, I felt were a little bit on the heavier side. The shape, I love the Huarache X shape. I always use the Huarache when I use 11624 paddles. But the Alpha Pro Power was something I used for a few months, and I really, really liked it. So I'm going to put that in A tier just because it's just a solid performing paddle. I'm actually thinking about putting that into S tier just because it's such like a well-rounded paddle. There's really nothing I would change about it. Maybe a little bit more power, but that's asking for a lot. So I may revisit that and move it up to S depending on what shakes down here. The C45, I'm going to put this also in A tier. I did main the C45 for a while, the hybrid for a couple months and the elongated for like a month or so. You have to weight this up, again, similar to like the Quanta, that you really can't play it stock unless you're like crazy and amazingly good. But you definitely need to weight up the C45s. They have a really nice feel, really soft feel. But still a decent amount of firepower when you really get at it. So it's just a really well-rounded all-court kind of low-power paddle, similar to like the Alpha Pro Power profile, I think. So yeah, really solid. I would recommend that paddle to anyone, really. It's just a well-rounded paddle. The Boomstik. So I'm going to put this in A. I really want to even... I maybe want to put it into B tier, and I'll tell you why. Performance-wise, Boomstik is awesome. It's super powerful, super poppy. It's uncontrollable sometimes to me, so that's why I don't put it into S tier. I'm thinking about even putting it into B tier just from the quality control standpoint. the edge guards come off of this paddle so often. I see so many posts about the edge guards coming off, cracks in the face, just quality control issues like crazy. I personally had 2 boomsticks. They both broke. One broke in one session, which is crazy. It was like a 3-hour session, and the edge guard was completely loose and the front was cracked. They have a good warranty process. I already have my warranty replacement, so that's not a problem. It's just, if you want to use a paddle, you want it more than one session. Use it for 3 hours. I was like, wow, this is really good. And then I ended up having to return it and because it broke. So I don't know. It's great what they did with the boomstick in terms of like the tech behind it. Infinigrit is also nice. It's been lasting a while, but by the time you get a warranty replacement, you're getting new grit anyway. So it's kind of just like whatever. So I don't know. I'm bouncing between this. If there was no quality control issues, I probably would put it towards S. It's just, I have to be honest and say that if you do get a boomstick, there's a high chance that you might have to warranty it in the future. Especially if you're a hard-hitting player. So you know what? I'm going to put this in B because from a consumer aspect, it's $333. You expect something to last a little bit longer. So I'm going to throw it down to B. The Joola Pro4, I'm going to put that in S. It's just such a well-rounded paddle. Pros use it left and right. Everyone in rec play uses it. It's super popular for a reason. Has nice power. It's very controllable. It has a very pleasant feel. Breaks in really nicely. So, you know, it has super strong staying power. Even in all the foams that are coming out, it's still one of the most used paddles. I personally like it too. I think it's a great paddle. So, you know, you can't argue with it. It has to be S tier. Anecdote, it does break. People have core crushed this. They've got warranty replacements. So from a consumer aspect, I might place it in A, but just because this was like the paddle that just led the whole Gen 3 movement and really was like the most popular paddle, still is one of the most popular paddles. It has to stay in S tier just from that. The Loco, this is going to be a very hot take. I actually didn't like the Loco. I'm putting in B tier. There's nothing wrong from like the feel aspect of it. I personally just did not like the shape options. So the hybrid, I did not like the short handle. I'm like a 5.5 minimum on a handle, and that's 5.3. If I would split this tier list up into shapes, I probably would put the standard as S tier, the hybrid somewhere in A and B, and then the elongated in C and D, but I'm just going to average it out and put it in B. The elongated was super heavy to me. If I wanted to add weight, it would cut prohibitively heavy for me. So it also felt head heavy too. So I definitely felt like it was going to strain my arm if I played with it for too long. So definitely did not like the elongated, did not like the hybrid because of the short handle. The standard also has a shorter handle, so I wasn't crazy about that, but I think that is where it really shines, where the Loco really shines, where you get that nice control and you get that aggressive pop. It's great. From that shape aspect, but the other shapes did not jive with me. So a lot of people like the Loco. They go crazy for the Loco. I just don't see it. But, you know, to each their own. This is the Ruby Pro. I'm going to put that in C. Maybe even D. D is aggressive. You know, I'm putting in D tier. The reason why is it's expensive. It's over $200. It's still Gen 2 technology. It's not a Gen 3 paddle, a Gen 4 paddle. I would say this is super niche to like only the people who main the Ruby, who like love the original Ruby and cannot go away from the Ruby, then they can use this. The grit was super, super gritty when I first got this. It was like ridiculous. Like it would actually like cut your hand probably if you did it a little bit too hard. But that's all it had really going for it. It was heavy on the heavier side for a hybrid. It didn't have much power. Sweet spot felt really small. It didn't feel like it was up to snuff compared to all the other paddles that are on this list. It felt old from a tech perspective. The grit was really the only thing that had it going for it. And I think people equally had like a lukewarm to like whatever response to this. Just looking at like the forums and the feedback from people, it's just kind of like a whatever paddle. So yeah, unfortunately, if they release this initially as like the original Ruby, probably would be a lot better. But nowadays it's just, they probably could have even just skipped this release, to be honest. All right, the Falcon, I'm going to put this in B. So this is the Flik Falcon. I don't think it was as popular as the F1, just because the F1 was ridiculously powerful and was more unique in that aspect. The Falcon definitely had some interesting technology with the cork pads. It was a 13 millimeter paddle that felt pretty dwelly, almost felt like a 16, but it was a little bit too heavy for me. I wasn't too particularly keen on the power profile either. It was a little bit underpowered in my opinion. That being said, I did love how they moved to a 5.5 inch handle on this one. It felt so much better than the 5.3 inch that is on the F1. So that was the only knock that I had on the F1 from a handle aspect. So if they can take that shape, make it lighter, make it a little bit more powerful, and have that still nice control profile, they have a winner, in my opinion. This is the GX2 Power. I'm going to put this in A tier. I really liked the GX2 Power when I played with it. It was super plush, had that really, really significant dwell time. So the launch angle was very high on it. So I did have to get a little bit used to that. But when you dial it in, it is a really nice paddle. It's definitely Gearbox's best paddle, in my opinion. I've tried the older Gearbox paddles, you know, the PPEs when they were ridiculously powerful and illegal, and this is just night and day difference. This feels like an evolution of the Gearbox paddles, and something that they definitely have a good paddle here, and they should definitely take that technology and use it for their paddles going forward. So yeah, definitely like the GX2 Power. I think they're on the right track, and really curious to see what they do in the future with that. All right. The Inferno, I'm putting this in S tier. I love the Inferno. If I were to actually split this by the original production model, which was a single stamp, which was the USAP approved model, and then split this out into a second one, which is the dual stamp, which is the USAP and UPA approved model, I would put the USAP single stamp on S tier and the dual stamp in A tier. Just because they did change the paddle a little bit. The original had this really deep, thunky sound that sounded like almost like a mod, and it was super pleasant. You get really good dwell time, super, super awesome control. Resets were like automatic with this thing. They changed the formula up a little bit and the dual stamp, and it seems like it's a little bit more stiffer and poppier. Like, it still breaks in, but it doesn't break into a significant degree that the original did. So a little bit upsetting there if you really like that thunk in the original Inferno. They've since changed that. I'm not going to say that it's a horrible paddle now, but if you do like that thunky, broken in feel, it doesn't get as thunky as the original ones. So still a great paddle. Even like the new ones still are awesome, and you still get that nice break in and that dwell time. It's just not that significant thunk that you get with the original ones. Oh boy, the Trufoams. So we have the Waves and then the original one. So I'm going to put the original one at B. I didn't want to put it at A just from like an innovation factor, because they were like the first ones to come out. The Trufoam was like the start of the whole foam revolution that happened this year. So I was inclined to put this in A. I'm going to put it in B just because I wasn't too keen on the Trufoam. It felt a little bit dead to me at times, especially like the top and the sides. It just didn't seem like I was hitting the sweet spot that often. And the Waves is the next one is probably going to be even worse, I think. But the Trufoam was good from a spin and dwell aspect. It got really good spin and dwell. I think that fiberglass patch that they had made it a little bit inconsistent. So I don't know. The Trufoam was a little bit like whatever to me. Most people that I play with it are just like okay with it too. Like they're not like amazed by it. So I'll put it in like the average one. I'm putting the Waves in C right away while we're here and talking about the Trufoam, because the Waves did come out later on in the year, and they had time between the original Trufoam and then the Waves to do something a little bit different. which they did from like a construction aspect, but again, sweet spot was super tiny compared to all these other paddles up here. And I don't know, it was just kind of like a meh release compared to everything else that was coming out at that time. So definitely underwhelming. I hope Carbon does come out with something a little bit more interesting next year. All right. I think we're like halfway done and we're at 20 minutes, so not bad. Okay. The RPM S tier. The Friction Pro in particular. So these are the RPM paddles. I'm going to put both the elongated and the wide body in this conversation because I did play with both. Wide body, super similar to the Scorpius if you've used that. I would say maybe slightly even better because it gets better spin than the Pro 4. But if you are a Pro 4 fan, please try the RPM Friction Pro. I guarantee you're going to love it. You might like it even more. Some people that I've played with like the Joola over the RPM. I personally like the RPM over the Joola. I just think it's a great paddle. You just pick up and play, and it's like just everyone I've given this to, they've just loved it. They didn't want to give it back. They're just like, hey, I want this paddle. So there's something to say when you give someone a paddle with no background. I just gave them the paddle and say, hey, try this. And most people love it. So from just that factor alone, like that just gives me a little bit of evidence that it's not just me who loves this paddle. It's a lot of people who love this paddle. And both the 16 and the 14, I have fans of both 16 and 14. The 16 definitely for that more of that more power, a little bit better resets, and you feel that dwell a little bit more. And that 14 for that maneuverability. So yeah, can't go wrong. Those are both great shapes. The elongated and the wide body are both amazing shapes, and they place really well. So the black Opal, I'm going to put that in C tier. So I might be a little bit harsh on 6.0, but we're going to come back around to that with the coral. But black Opal, super small sweet spot, dead spots all around, heavy, have to weight it up. In the right hands, this probably could be a really great paddle, probably an S tier, A tier paddle. But I'm not at that level. I'm not at that 5.0, 6.0 level, the pro level. So, you know, the Opal just felt like the sweet spot was a little bit too small. It did feel nice when you hit the sweet spot, but there have been constant times where you just hit the top or the sides and it just goes and then just dies. I know a couple of people who use this paddle too. They weren't too keen on it. So yeah, great design, great tech. It's just, I don't know. I think it's probably more for like the super advanced audience. And I wouldn't recommend this to like an amateur. The Apes. So I do have the Harmony in here. I'm going to give the Harmony a B. I think it was a really solid all-court paddle. There was really nothing wrong with it, to be honest. I just thought it was a really just solid paddle. Didn't do anything amazingly well. Didn't do anything poorly. So that's why it's right in the middle. It's just B tier. Not much more to say about it. It's just an all-court paddle and probably something that everyone could use and play well with. It's just doesn't really shine in one particular aspect. The V-Soles. I'm going to put both the Power and the Pro in S tier. And these are just amazing paddles for the price. These are both foam paddles that you can get for under $100, and they're just a crazy value for what you get here. You get a Gen 4 foam paddle that has a great warranty, great performance. The power feels better than the Trufoam in my opinion, and has more power. The V-Sole Pro feels like a better Quanta to me. I love the shape options. They have both the standard, the hybrid, and elongated, and they have short handle and long handle options. So you really can find any shape that you want in the Vatic catalog. And, you know, anytime I give these paddles to anyone, they'd love it. And at that price, it's hard to beat. So performance, price, everything is just great with that paddle. And for both the Power and the Pro, depending if you like, you know, the Power has more of that muted feel and more of that Trufoam feel, and then the V-Sole Pro has more of that poppy Loco kind of Quanta feel. So yeah, can't go wrong with either. The Era, I'm going to put that in A tier. That's the SLK Era. Really solid offering. This was when Selkirk was really getting better paddles onto the market. I think the Era was like when they first was like, hey, wow, Selkirk actually made something really great here. So they entered the Gen 3 space with that and performed really well. I still know a bunch of people who use this paddle. I still have it hanging back there. It's still a paddle that I use every so often. But yeah, it's kind of in this realm of like the Alpha Pro Powers and the Powers and the C45 and the Thrive, and it's kind of like in that range of like the Gen 3s that are just really solid offerings, great shape options as well. Yeah, nothing more to say about that. Next is the Enhanced Duo. I actually just got this, so I added it to the list as a late addition. I haven't had too much playtime on it, so my initial impressions is I'll give it an A. It has a really nice feel to it, kind of plush, but still has a kind of an explosive characteristic to it. So yeah, I'm gonna put more time on it, but my first thoughts, and I know they're coming out with a wide body, which is gonna be really interesting, but from the elongated aspect, I thought it was a little bit head heavy, which is probably why I'm not putting an S tier right now, and also don't have enough playtime, but it just feels really good. It looks great too. I know the picture's cut off here, but on the court, it's just a really sharp looking paddle actually. And to me, that gives you a little extra points when the paddle looks really great. I feel like you play a little bit better, you know, look good, feel good type of attitude. So yeah, I really like it. I'm going to put more play time on it. It could move up into S tier, or even down to B tier, depending on, you know, how I play with it with real competition. So we'll see. Next is the Coral. I'm going to put this in A tier. So I know I've been dogging on 6.0 here. We have the Black Opal at C and then the Ruby Pro at D. The Coral is probably, in my opinion, what 6.0 should be really pushing for like the general audience. The Coral is a great like all court, maybe even leaning slightly to the low power if you weight it up properly. But it's a really solid all court offering. Has a nice feel to it. Doesn't feel too dead or muted. Sweet spot feels good too. They do have that elongated shape still kind of messes with me a little bit because it's not like a true elongated. They have that really long handle and that smaller face, similar to like the TF Blitz that came out. Not saying I don't like this shape. It's just they don't use the full dimensions and it kind of feels weird. So yeah, the Hybrid also has a shorter handle too. 6.0 handles in general are just trash. I'll just be very honest. I'm not crazy about the 6.0 handles. So like, it might even go down to B tier if I play with it more, but I've been kind of harsh on 6.0 here. So I think comparatively, compared to all the other paddles in their catalog, I think I would put it in A tier. Next is the Aireo. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but this is a new paddle that I just said I'm putting in S tier first off, but it's a new paddle that I just got. I've been playing with it a lot. I really, really like it. It's up there with the Inferno and the ones in S tier. Super explosive pop. Definitely feels like a Boomstik, but just more maneuverable and a little bit more controllable. Has that nice dwell time compared to the Boomstik, which feels like it does come off the face a little bit quicker. So yeah, more to come on that, but that's the Cyclone. So let's see, let's take a minute now and just review. I'm just going to take a minute to see if I want to shift anything here. It feels good off the bat, but I just want to make sure that we're not too heavily concentrated in one tier. I don't know, this feels good to me. If anything, yeah, no, this feels good to me. I think I would run with this. But yeah. So yeah, like I said, I do have some discount codes in the description. I have a link tree where you can get some discounts on some of these, but I'm doing this for fun mostly and just to get my thoughts on things. There have been a lot of paddles released in the last year and I didn't have much time. So really appreciative of everyone who's still following me and supporting me. And yeah, I'm going to play a lot more paddles. Really excited for the next year. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this format. I'm going to probably do some of these more in the future when there's a lot of paddle releases. I can't do each individual paddle, so this is a nice format where I can just get them all out. Thanks everyone, appreciate it, and have a nice new year. I hope you have a really safe holiday with your families, and I'll catch you in the next one.